continue on with the why, or would I move to and consider to think about living in Moscow. Me, as the one who knows about Russia enough, absolutely love St. Petersburg. But is Moscow a better city, or is it just worth moving? What's up, everybody? This is Igor in Russia, and this is Moscow, my friends. I'm in Moscow. I'm a foreigner traveling to Russia, filming Russia everyday life, and helping out others. Usually, my hometown, that I consider my hometown, is St. Petersburg. But Moscow, this is something that I love to come around, arrive to, and make videos about. And this video is about, would I consider living in Moscow and why? Surprising answer, well, there might be, but not necessarily. So you gotta understand that it's not that simple. Of course, first of all, I think Moscow is amazing. I think anybody who has his eyes in the right place would consider that. But is this a place worth living when you can live anywhere in Russia? Because generally speaking, guys, if you follow my channel, you know that I want to and I would love to live in Russia. That's my dream, actually. And let's go, guys, actually through here. Yes, I'm gonna go to the metro. So let me just quickly go across the street. So I'm gonna come up with things that I see as we go along, because in Russia there's so many good and possibly negative things right there in your clear view. So first of all, there's a lot of traffic. This is not a rush hour. Right now it's 12:30, but it's busy. But yes, during the rough traffic jams, rush hour, it's crazy. And that's why Moscow, the best way to travel is metro. And metro is definitely one of the reasons why, positive reasons to live in Moscow. The system expands all the time, every year, yearly, guys. Every year new stations open, and it already covers nearby cities which are part of Moscow Oblast, not even Moscow, or even further. So that's crazy. So everything is super convenient. And right now this is a busy point, but we're gonna walk around and we're gonna see places that are actually also peaceful, which are important to me. But I haven't seen it yet in this video as we speak, so you're gonna see it and talk about it. We'll talk about it when we see it. But yeah, metro, one of the positive things. Movement in Moscow is very easy. Of course, you got metros, buses, electric buses, trams, etc. Trams are not so popular, but you can see it's a huge. There's a 200, I think, 60 or 80 stations already. And these locations are usually grandiose, beautiful, culturally, making you feel, well, enriched for sure. And the ticket price is for Moscow very decent. So right there in the back, in the clouds, there is Moscow City nearby. That's Moscow City already, guys. And this thing here is just in front of the metro. But this is, of course, history, culture, all included. That's what it represents to me. And would I live in Moscow because of the culture? Well, in Russia for sure, but if I compare it to St. Petersburg, St. Petersburg wins, because in Moscow, I think in St. Petersburg there's way more different kind of museums. The ones that you got here, some of them are bigger and more, grandiose and more epic in a way. Same thing with maybe some monuments, etc., especially if leading to Soviet times. Sure, we have in St. Petersburg a decent amount of those as well. But considering that St. Petersburg is better, I don't think Moscow is the main reason because of that. Because of maybe Soviet history, yes, there is much more Soviet history, where St. Petersburg is proud to present its Romanov and Tsarist era locations, museums, palaces, etc. And also one thing I'm gonna tell you, in Moscow, the museums, if they're a bit more touristy, they are more expensive, way more expensive. There's a couple of bunkers that I want to see. Once again, Soviet history. They cost like 2,000. State Hermitage doesn't cost 2,000, or maybe it does right now, but still, like, we're talking about world's one of the most greatest places, best museums, and it costs less than 2,000 for tourists. In citizens, it's 400 rubles, $4. So, St. Petersburg wins over. In Moscow, everything is big, etc., but more pricey. So if you want to do a lot, locally, it's quite a lot of money. And I think locally. All right, guys, moving down. Let's see where we're gonna end up. Guys, this is улица 1905 года. In Russia would sound улица 1905 года. And you can actually understand, it's pretty easy. It's also in English. Let's go further from the city. Very convenient, guys. As a tourist, you can buy unlimited tickets for 1, 2, or 3 days. 3 days, and a 3-day ticket is like $6. You should do it. You can buy them actually from these machines here. 60 rubles per one time, but then you can buy these type of tickets. You got this is one ticket is 70 rubles for 1 day, 340, and 3 days. Oops, and 3 days. Where is it? Come on. And 3 days, 650. That's $6.50. So you can have 10 trips throughout the 10 days, and you're probably gonna have more. You're gonna have, maybe, depending how effective you are. But yes, definitely worth it. So use these machines, or buy Troika. You can also buy Troika card. This way you can just charge money on it for the future. These tickets are gonna give you a red card, not football card, but red card, and you can after, when it's done, you just throw it away. One thing that is good about Moscow is that it's always developing. This is the random station, and actually I forgot the name. A couple stations later, you can see that there's some things are prepared for Stroika. And even though maybe this is not the best example of what I'm telling you guys, but Moscow is always developing. So there's always something new being built all the time. Some of the areas, same thing as in St. Petersburg, they are not maybe the best places to live visually. For example, here. Check it out. And no, this is not a nuclear station, guys. Definitely not. New places being built all the time. New services opened. And I'm gonna go into the suburban area, or like neighborhood area, because that's one of the best places, best things in Russia in general, no matter what city. The real neighborhoods. And let me also tell you the difference about areas depending on your social status or your wealth. But so this is like a typical city central neighborhood, right? These are like livable, meaning if you're a mid-class, approximately, you have money for it. But for example, over there you can see, let me zoom in. So these type of houses, I assume, guys, I'm just assuming, I assume are in the back. These are like a little bit upper class or more expensive. This neighborhood is not the best, but you're gonna have to have much more money in order to live in those or even buy it, because I can see it from here that those buildings, for example, are so-called, well, in a way, gated communities. So there's like somebody who's making sure that a guard sitting, not a guard, it can be an elderly man, but somebody is also just supervising safety. And normal neighborhoods doesn't have that and don't need it actually even. I don't think those need it as well, but it's a big city, so you have all sorts of people here. And this neighborhood right here is random station that I left. This is Polizhaevskaya, the purple line. One of the good things in Moscow is that unlike some of the European cities, metro stations are not the hub spot for all kinds of shady people, you know, drug addicts or shady people in general, or just drunks. And I'm gonna name Scandinavian or European cities, but in Moscow or St. Petersburg, well, we focus on Moscow. So Moscow, you don't have that. Some of the stations might have, they're like huge centers, so you might have all sorts of people, but they're not roaming around as freely. If they can cause any disturbance, there's always police nearby or called, and they do their thing. Great thing about Moscow is, of course, the city is huge, but in general you can say it's super clean. You don't see any dirt anywhere, despite there's a lot of people. There's 20 million people approximately, officially 14, but it's closer to 20 million that are living, and it's clean, guys. Well, once again, I told you, this is the streets are not have been in advance cleaned for this video that's gonna get millions of views. So this is just normal life in Moscow. Cleanliness, another thing, big thing, Russia in general, but Moscow in this case, it's safe. You can feel safe anywhere at any given time. Even though, once again, Russians are hot-blooded. Many are, not all, but many are hot-blooded. Let's turn here. Hot-blooded people, you know, sometimes there's arguments and such, but it's safe. You can feel it. Anybody who's been here as a tourist or expat living here always say the same thing, because you can feel it. And meaning, if that's such a huge difference that you actually feel safety, unlike some Western country location that you arrived from. So that means, I guess, in many ways, the usually Western counterparts are not safe, relatively, or in comparison. So that's a good thing, of course. And the same thing with being a female in the city. Women can walk freely at any given time. That's general understanding and truth among people who live here. That doesn't mean there's statistically no criminals or criminal activity, but we're talking about now real experience by locals, not just me. I've spoken to many foreigners, women and male, and that's truth, guys. Of course, Moscow there's everything for everybody in Moscow. And for example, this is our car road, and it's we took one turn away from the main road, one of the main roads, you know, like Prospect, so I don't know. And it gets super quiet. As you can see, only a few cars, but this is 1 p.m. so, but still quite peaceful. But we're gonna turn to this side over here and notice that's it's amazingly peaceful. So I for sometimes like live in a city where there's a lot of buzz, a lot of like stuff happening, but I lived all my life in Scandinavia, so there's a little piece of me, a substantial piece of me that needs not privacy, but you know, relaxation. And listen to this. So in everywhere, that's what I've noticed once I also had my stereotypes about Moscow, that everything is big and super loud. But in fact, everywhere, even in the central area or in the center, like next to Arbat, there's even places that are super quiet, and you can actually just enjoy peaceful like this. I'll be quiet. Amazingly, birds are flying, it's chirping. You can see places where they feed the birds. Really nice, homemade. Continue on with why, or would I move to and consider to think about living in Moscow? But is Moscow a better city? What you guys think? Horoshovskaya Shosсе. Moscow in Russia divides in different kind of neighborhoods according to the time it's being built. For example, this here I can see by the mostly by the bricks, but also by the design, that this is probably 60s, late 60s. This one here is 50s, so it's like Stalinka. So as you can see, 3 floors, but it's relatively high. It's possibly that these houses have almost 3 meters high ceilings, when this actually has way less. And so different places, and different prices as well, but also neighborhoods. So this is still the same quite central area, but you can, when choosing a place to live, there's pluses and minuses. If you go further to new areas, there are of course novostroyki, new buildings, and they're totally different. Usually they're huge, you get 20 something floors. Older ones, Stalinkas, if we're not talking about the main streets, they are like maybe 3 floors high. In the central area, these places could be 5, 6 floors. And these ones started to get higher, bigger in the 60s. They wanted to make more efficient to live for people moving from the countryside. But that's why they're not necessarily the best design. And here you can see that this was built later on here. This looks a bit rough looking, but meaning that new building would be, if it was built in 2000s, this would be much colorful. But anyways, this is a decent house, but this is like a 20-floor high building. So you have 3 different, even in this neighborhood here, because they're trying to use all the space that they can do. You have Stalinkas, Khrushchevkas, and Novostroyki. No Brezhnevkas here, because that would be obvious 70s, 80s the choice of Brezhnevkas. And there's a lot of options, and also of course, depending on your wallet, options geographically where to live. And then there's all around, as you can see, you have vkусные точkas, fast food restaurants, great restaurants, decent restaurants. You have sex shops here, tabak, all kinds of services, even in the neighborhoods. That's what I'm talking about, neighborhoods. Actually, sorry, this not necessarily, I think it was a sex shop, but anyway, no personal experience. And so you have cafes and such, hot dogs, but with Russian X or H, Russian H, and a lot of service here. Then you have a shopping malls. So guys, You can do a lot of things living in the neighborhoods where you live, because there's a lot of people around, so there's a lot of services, and that is of course just a great thing. Level of services in Moscow is even higher than anywhere else. That's what I think. People are more demanding. People demanding of good level of a service, which is not necessarily always true in Russia. So that's definitely a good thing. More, let's say, I would say more European in many ways. People are very polite, very respectful, or are supposed to be. And if they're not, you are able to actually, make a complaint, and it will actually go somewhere. Because in Russia, that is not always the truth. Here we are back on the main street. It's much, much louder. Here's also a shopping mall called Хорошо. Shopping malls usually very close to neighborhoods all around, all across the city. You don't need to travel ever far to get somewhere. The only thing you need to travel, depending where you live, is if you want to see the historical center like Kremlin, Red Square. That's the only way, because otherwise you don't need to. All right, guys, would I actually move to Moscow? Well, first of all, let's put it clear. I would definitely move to Russia, because I know the truth. I feel good here. I like the lifestyle here. I always said my dream city is St. Petersburg. This video is not comparing to St. Petersburg, but in general. Guys, thinking about all the stuff that I told you about in this video, and that's the main, the ones that come top of mind. Those are the ones that come to my mind. I would say I would definitely move to Moscow. There's no reason not to. Every street is always, by the way, clean, walkable. Everything is done for the people who live here. There's no reason to. The only minus thing is, of course, it's a quite expensive city. So if I want to move, I should get more money than I would get somewhere else in Russia. But that's a whole different topic. So yes, definitely I would prefer St. Petersburg. But if they say you have no other options, we give you only this job and this job that I love, by the way, I'm not doing anything. I have goals to achieve. So if you get this job, but you have to live in Moscow, I would do it. Guys, what would you do? Please comment down in the comment section. Other video, why not to move to Moscow, is coming up. Subscribe to the channel, Igor in Russia, and see you guys. Bye bye from Россия, Moskva. Thanks for watching another of my videos. Make sure to check out the places that you're interested in with the link in the description. There's an interactive Google Maps that you can use to find another places all around the world. Go check it out on a browser. Also, if you want to support, there's a link in the description to my store, distribution all across the world. Thanks for watching, and leave a like, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.